Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Sharks for a Sustainable Future event. I am the Global Community Coordinator for the Earth Foundation. I'll have the honor and pleasure of moderating the powerful conversations that will be happening here today. But before we get into that, I'd like for everyone to get on the same page of what this event is. I'm happy to say that we have the founder of the Earth Foundation right here, Peter, who can tell us more about that.
Thanks, George. And thanks, everyone. So when we founded the Earth Foundation, we gave it a really simple mission, four things, to educate, to inspire, to mentor, and to empower. And I think today's event, we're going to do all four. I think that's how you should view this. And one thing that I want you to be aware of to each of the participants is when other young people around the world see this recording, you will inspire them. Okay. They'll want to follow in your footsteps. And the final thing I would say is, the sharks can be quite scary in real life, but I think these sharks uh, are not going to be scary. So we're on your side. This is part of your journey, a very small milestone in that journey. And I think we all want this to be a real positive, fulfilling experience for each of you. So I can't wait to get started. Back to you, George.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And this is for the Sharks here today. So many of the participants we have here, they're actually winners and finalists of past editions of the Earth Prize, about which Peter just mentioned, which is our flagship program currently in its fifth edition. And what we hope for this program to be is actually one of several programs we're launching under the umbrella of the Earth Alliance, which is our new multi-generational global community that facilitates these kinds of events and conversations, all about co-creation, collaborating towards maximizing positive environmental impact. And to start off, I just want to say I'm really thrilled to hear. I'll be going around to introduce you all individually, hoping we'll get a bit more comfortable with each other. And for the sake of, everyone joining in from different time zones and the pressures of remembering everyone's names, I'll just be referring to everyone by their first name. So, with your permission, I'll be starting with our incredible sharks and then move on to the amazing participants they'll be gobbling up later. And I'll start with Snehal is NVIDIA's startups community manager. She works closely with high potential startups, strategic partners across the Europe and Middle East Africa region. She'll be bringing a sharp technical lens grounded in electronics, computer science, engineering, and has a global perspective on innovation and scale, thanks to her work alongside many AI-powered startups. Great to have you here, Snehal.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Beautiful. We also have Sally. She is a founding partner at Kach Capital. She's part of the leadership team. She's also had senior training and management roles at ABN, at Bank of America, Barings, and a number of positions across United Nations Association, Mayor's Fund for London, Financial Markets Law Committee at the Bank of England. And she also has a very strong background in law. It's amazing to have you here, Sally.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Beautiful. Louise, who's already empathizing with our colleagues from North America. She's the founder of Solo Holdings. She serves as an investor, board member, and interim executive to various startups focusing on the future of food, lifestyle, and she also supports them navigating the gray areas of green transition. Great to have you here, Louise.
Lovely to be here, and good luck, everybody. I know it's tough to be on that side of the screen, so you're going to do good.
Awesome. Peter is also here. We heard from him earlier. Peter is a entrepreneur and macro portfolio manager. He's also the founder of the Earth Foundation, the visionary behind the Earth Prize, who is too humble to provide us with a more detailed professional bio. So we actually searched this up. Thank you, Peter. But what any team member can tell you about him is that he's simply a force that's constantly looking for ways of driving meaningful and durable positive change. Thank you for being here, Peter. So humble, he's not unmuting. Thank you so much. Oh man. Um, I think I'm very happy to see that Shalina is also here. So Shalina is one of our team members who is also the founder and CEO of Saratoria, which is a leading platform for luxury resale in South Asia. Great to have you here, Shalina. She's been amazing at offering one-to-one support to all of the participants here today. Okay, don't worry about that, participants. A lot of the TEF team members are also too shy to talk, so that's fun. I'd like to now move on to the team. We have Team Cultivado, Haley and Yume, the first winning team I had the pleasure of interviewing, and they're going to be talking to us about a redistribution engine that fights and food insecurity. Great to have you two here.
Thank you for having us
Thank
here.
you.
Awesome. We also have Amara and her powerful project, Preserve Our Roots. She is a amazingly charismatic community catalyst. Her project turns waste sites into vibrant green parks, which create community space and also reduce pollution, urban heat, and environmental neglect. Welcome around here. Welcome to the stage, Amara.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be.
We also have Stuti. Stuti, I'm very sorry to say that I haven't had a chance to look at your project. I've only heard great things. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
So it's basically a bead which extracts humidity from the air and uses it to hydrate the soil.
Can't wait to hear more about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. We also have Tariq from Let's Conserve. Tariq's created a digital platform designed to turn climate concern into coordinated, meaningful action by making environmental engagement accessible, social, and motivating. He's also quite active on socials and is really good at leveraging their brand in order to make that happen. Welcome, Tariq.
Thank you so much, George. Really excited.
Awesome. We also have Team Entropy here, Anthony and Natalie, who are soldiering through the time zone difference. Great to have you. Great to have you two here, and talking about a climate platform that helps data centers reuse their wasted heat by delivering it to local district heating networks, helping with energy efficiency. Welcome, Anthony and Natalie.
Hi,
Thank
great
you.
to be
It's been a
here.
pleasure.
Awesome. And unfortunately, I also want to mention that Ryan Honery, the inventor and founder of Sensory AI, was supposed to be here today, but unfortunately, he suffered a tennis injury recently and won't be able to make it. We checked in. He seems he'll make a full recovery and really, he sends his hellos and warm regards and hopes to make it to the next edition. And I'm almost done. But I can't go further without mentioning Magda, my partner in crime, dear founder, talented and energetic comms director. She's been instrumental in putting this all together, in offering visual impact feedback to many of the participants, and she's going to be in the background today, making sure everything works perfectly from a tech perspective. Welcome, Magda.
Welcome, guys.
Awesome. And that would be it for intros. I'd like to just give a short overview of how the format's going to work. So each one of the teams will have 4 minutes to pitch. Magda will help you with a timer that you'll be able to see. And then there'll be a 6-minute Q&A when the sharks will be able to ask questions. You'll have time to answer them. And we've shared previously the order in which you'll present, but of course, at the end of the day, all teams will have 10 minutes dedicated to to being heard and also getting some valuable feedback and maybe discover some blind spots and hopefully form some valuable connections. And of course, at the end, we'll have a few minutes left to have some discussions to see what patterns emerged, what we noticed, maybe some notes for the very helpful to us as a team. So are there any questions on what will happen next or what I've just said? Or can we get started?
I think we're ready.
Super, super. Alrighty. Yume, I think I see you being very eager, which is absolutely great because Team Cultivado is the first to present. So let us know if you're ready.
So, there's no better feeling than digging into a hot meal, but this is a challenge. In the Philippines, there are up to 9 layers of middlemen in the agri-food supply chain that create severe inefficiencies. For consumers, this leads to 4 times higher prices, and environmentally, this results in 30% of produce being wasted before even reaching buyers, emitting 49 million metric tons of methane in just the Philippines alone each year.
So our solution is Cultivado, a web app that connects farmers to consumers, which bypass the middlemen, and teaching farmers to pool their resources. In doing so, we, 1, cut consumer prices by selling surplus ugly produce that would otherwise go to waste, which 2, diverts greenhouse gases by reducing the amount of food waste that enters landfills, and 3, we are currently building a network of supporters, including telecommunication companies and government departments to upskill our farmers. In just 6 months, Cultivado has rescued over 1.5 tons of produce, connected over 100 farmers to 30 plus restaurants and 4 NGOs, and sold our produce for up to 70% cheaper than market price.
Yume and I created Cultivado because we see the impact of these 9 layers of middlemen every single day. We both notice food prices rising and friends from Tondo, a Manila slum, struggling to afford nutritious food. Now, in our final year of high school, Yume and I are both internationally recognized for social enterprise work by both the Earth Prize and the National Geographic Slingshot Challenge.
So how exactly do we work? Ordering from Cultivado is as easy as accessing our website, selecting the desired product, seeing how much money is saved, and proceeding to checkout.
We take a 10% commission on each transaction. Given that there are 790,000 tons of food waste created in Metro Manila alone, just diverting 15% of this waste by rescuing surplus and ugly produce roughly equates to 15.5 million US dollars in untapped revenue.
In the past, others have tried solving the inefficiencies that we identify. However, we also notice that they have faced some challenges. They often lack a marketing and support, and they often have a limited geographic reach, and they also have a weak emphasis on their mission. We also, however, identified some of their strengths, which include user-oriented features and clear delivery chains that allow them to deliver promptly.
Cultivado targets these gaps. We expand farmers' limited geographic reach via our growing support network, where we train farmers to consolidate resources and aim to connect them with telco companies, for example, for better communication. We then respond to the lack of mission emphasis and marketing through our Cultivado accreditation, where rescuing surplus and ugly produce is part of our restaurant buyers' CSR, guaranteeing fairer wages for farmers and minimizing food waste.
We have been featured in both local and international outlets, with testers leaving glowing reviews.
So what are we looking for? We're looking for 12 months financing to supply 200 individual buyers and over 30 restaurants. This translates to 88,000 US dollars in annual revenue, given that each individual buyer purchase amounts to $10 in revenue and each restaurant correlates to 2,900 US dollars every year. Beyond just funding, however, we're looking for mentorship, specifically in 1, technical development, knowing how to automate our financial statements, 2, supply chain and logistics, partnering with delivery fleets. And 3, finding new undergraduate volunteers, particularly a CSO. So we hope you join Cotabada on our mission to make food systems more direct, fair, sustainable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to both of you for that. That's a very powerful beginning. As
I
a
was
as the
gonna
as the
say, well
mother,
done. I have to say, well done. I'm so proud of you two. Brilliant.
thanks for saying that, Shalina, because I'm trying to stay neutral here, and it's very hard. Okay, I'd like to open it up for the sharks to offer their feedback.
I can go first.
Please, Sally.
Thank you for a really positive presentation. I think, you know, one of the really important things in your last slide was about storage. So what's your strategy on storage? Because I presume this is going to be one of your biggest costs.
Yes, so thank you for that question. Currently, storage has actually been one of our pain points. So the way that it works is we have 100 plus farmers all in 3 different locations in the Philippines. So that includes Benguet, Tarlac, and Sagada. And so with these farmers, they pull their resources together through one delivery truck and they send it to one storage facility in Quezon City, which we help farmers finance. And so this is a 10,000 kilo capacity storehouse, but that costs roughly 30,000 pesos every single year. So that's around, or every single month. So that's around 500 US dollars per month. So far for us, it's been relatively affordable, but we definitely need to increase the scale of our supply and the scale of restaurants that we regularly supply to in order to keep up with that bottom line cost as well.
So how do you think you're going to do that? Because obviously you will need to match with the food, the produce that's coming in against the restaurateurs that are taking the produce from you. So what are you doing to try and tackle that problem or that kind of crunch point?
So we're basically trying to improve our way to predict how much demand each restaurant will have at a period of time. So we can create like a bottom line of like how much revenue we need every single month in order to sustain those storehouses. And because Cotabada, what we do is we consolidate the farmers and we teach them how to pull together resources. Although we're starting to finance the storehouse ourselves, it's actually going to be the farmers like pulling together their resources eventually to finance those storehouses in the future because they still take on the majority of the profit. We just take a 10% commission. And that's basically because of all the work we do, upskilling them, connecting them to restaurants, and giving them extra credibility.
And how are you working? I won't keep you too long, but because I'm sure there are other questions, but how are you working with the restaurants to try and ensure that they have geographical proximity to the farmers? Because that's going to be crucial in reducing those storage costs.
Yes, so most of the restaurants that we've been supplying to are currently in Metro Manila. So that's our city area in the Philippines. And so what we do is our storehouse that the farmers are pulling together, that's in one part of Metro Manila. In the Philippines, it's a bit inevitable that the products or the produce will have to go through a long not a long supply chain, but a long distance to reach the city. And so we're just making sure that most of our restaurants are located in Metro Manila near our storehouse, so it's easier to supply them with produce.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. I hope that answered it.
Yes, it did.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Sally. Who else has a question?
I'm happy to go next. First of all, super presentation, very clear about the market size and all of that, and it's a mission that's very close and dear to my heart. I just spent the last 2 weeks actually with chefs and bakers because I also have a food company, and your discussion of volumes is always a tough thing to predict. So one thing, I apologize if I'm not allowed to give advice and more a question, but I just can't not say this. Perhaps the structure is different, but most, at least Western restaurants, are supplied by a couple key distribution partners. And so you might be able to mitigate your spend there if you actually become one of the suppliers to the distribution networks that already exist instead of doing some kind of dropship model or direct-to-consumer model that it kind of sounds like you might be doing. And with the mission that you're discussing, that could be a pathway if that infrastructure exists in the Philippines. So the follow-up to that is an actual question. How are you thinking about, I mean, it's great that you're doing the concentrated approach. I mean, I always recommend being very strategic. Don't have a huge list of restaurants. Be very clear about what your milestones are. But how are you thinking about growth going forward if you can solve this, the tricky part of the distribution?
Okay, thank you for this question. I'll answer this since Yume's on the individual buyer side, and then add on to each other. So currently, those 30 restaurants are part of one restaurant group called the Tasteless Food Group. And so we've been supplying to all of them. But moving forward in the future, we're hoping to tap into the Bistro Group, which has more than 200 restaurants here in the Philippines. And we've already found a contact person or point person within the company. So right now, our main priority is trying to figure out how we can make sure that we regularly and consistently can support that demand quantity. Yume, do you want to add on?
Yeah, and on the individual side, currently we've tested multiple times within our local communities, but we hope to expand to maybe in the next 5 years, 70,000 people, dreaming big. And we hope that with an automated website and also having an efficient delivery system where we potentially deliver to a set location that helps consolidate different groups of consumers, we hope to create an efficient system that lets us branch out to more individual buyers as well.
Super, thank you.
Thank you both. I wish we had more time for additional questions, but we also have a tight schedule to keep up to, but you're welcome to continue this conversation if you so desire outside of the event. Next up, we have Stuti.
Hi, Shak. So my project is called Defying Drought, and it is going to harvest humidity to save crops in regions which are being affected by droughts. Due to climate change, the droughts all around the world are increasing, and over 2 billion people have faced droughts in 2025. In my state, Maharashtra alone, which is in the western parts of India, over 9 million farmers have had to experience drought, and the crop failure rate has increased to over 70%. Over 43% of farmland has been affected, and in the future, this is further going to increase food scarcity, water scarcity, and it will also cause a decline in soil quality, which means it can cause desertification, and we will be at risk of losing one of the most valuable natural resources we have, which is fertile soil. So my solution is microbeads containing immobilized calcium chloride inside a porous biodegradable polymer. So instead of relying on expensive irrigation systems or machinery, this will create the soil into a self-sustaining water harvesting system, which will capture humidity from the atmosphere, as many coastal states in India have a humidity of over 30 to 80% at any time in the year. So the calcium chloride is hygroscopic and deliquescent, which means that it can absorb water vapor into air and form solutions with it. The bead architecture has a high surface area due to its porous nature and will have a high surface area which allows water to be absorbed but will keep the ion release slow. The polymer matrix will prevent clumping and uncontrolled leaching. And over time, since the polymer is carbomethyl cellulose, it'll biodegrade and contribute to organic matter. The calcium ions will also improve soil structure and root health. So the product works at night when the humidity increases and temperature decreases. There is a concentration gradient between the beads and the soil as the soil gets humid due to the air like holes. So the water will diffuse into the beads through the polymer matrix and it will form a brine structure. During the day when the temperature increases, and again there's a concentration gradient, the water will diffuse out and into the roots, and over time it will biodegrade. So the impact it'll have, so the small quantities of water it'll harvest will significantly delay wilting and drought stress, and will also slow down desertification and other processes which will damage the soil. Since the water is directly being delivered into the soil, it'll prevent water loss from percolation, runoff, and evaporation. And I aim to form a cost-effective solution for farmers from rural areas, as drip irrigation systems can cost between rupees 35,000 to 65,000, and many farmers don't have the income or the education to maintain these. This is a simple solution which will impact them. So in the future, I hope to put more research and development into this product and have a positive impact on the rural communities in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stuti. That was incredibly fast. Before we open it up to the sharks, I'm just curious, is this at a prototype stage or
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a functioning prototype and you validated this?
So right now it's just a pitch.
Mhm. Got it. Got it. You've planned how to test it in a
Yeah.
laboratory environment and things like that. Can you tell us more about that?
So now the next stage for me is research and development. So I have sourced the materials and how this is going to go. So it requires more testing. I need to find out the exact amount of beads that will be needed and the exact amount of beads that will be needed to prevent salination and the right amount for hydrating the soil.
Got it. Thank you. We can open up the discussion to the sharks.
I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. A very interesting idea. And as you said, it affects, a very wide population, not just in Maharashtra, but, in different parts of India and, different parts of the world. How did you come up with the idea? Just very briefly, just so we have some background.
So I did an internship at a lab which made beads to filter out like pollution from the air and water. So that's what formed like the base from my idea. And then the rest was just research where I found out about these salts and I thought maybe I can put these into beads.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on what you need next in order to take this to the next stage?
So I definitely need advice, more mentorship, and access to labs to take this forward.
Have you been able to scope out a potential grant structure in order to fund the research that you need to do?
Yeah, so a lot of it is not that like expensive, so it can like the research and development can be funded.
And do you know roughly kind of what you need to make that happen from a financial perspective? I'm going to be very honest, this is not my world at all. So I have no idea if not expensive is like this, like a hamburger or like like thousands and thousands of dollars.
So I will be able to get the raw materials for not that expensive. And
then one last follow-up, and I really don't want to monopolize. From the concept, if I hear it as it stands, sounds phenomenal and sounds like it could be a real solution, especially when I think about irrigation systems and the cost to maintain those and things like that. But have you thought about the possible consequences of your solution? Because of course, for every good thing, there could be a negative output as well.
So possible consequences could be like salination of the soil as it is a salt. But I think like a fixed quantity which we can advise the farmers can use can really fix this.
Hey Stuti, hi. First off, really, really great. Thanks for presenting. I also come from Maharashtra, so I know the pain, I feel it. And also super happy to see that you're trying something that changes it. My question would be, are you also getting help from the Indian government regarding this? If not, I'd be happy to help out there.
Not yet, but that would actually be great.
Also, and do you have like a timeline for everything? Let's say you said that you're still testing it.
Yeah, so I think the research and development will take another 2 or 3 months.
Okay. Okay. And what about also the financial help if you need anything else on that end?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay. So yeah, the first advice would be to have like a proper proposal as well at hand, because these would be the questions that would be asked later. So the finance, the timeline, and also the scale. As I don't come from the same area, so wouldn't be able to give you more advice on the chemistry side of things. But maybe you would also like to check out what as Louise also mentioned, the irrigation systems that are already in place. And that's something I think the government also gives a lot of subsidies for the farmers.
Government does do that, but this would be easier to like distribute among the farmers and it'd be easier for them to also use.
Yeah, exactly. I think you need to make that as your solid case. So because that would be a question that will be asked. So yeah, but super idea. I hope it is put into practice soon. So
Thank you.
Shruti, you've done an amazing job because she was just introduced to this process 2 days ago. So she hasn't had the same amount of time to prepare financials and research costs as other participants have. So very well done, Shruti, for doing it in a much shorter time.
No, I think it's a really interesting idea, Studi, and well done on how you presented it. My pushback, though, to be that shark, is I think your customers, obviously it could be the state, but generally farmers are, a lot of them are going to be struggling. And if they've experienced a drought, they're going to have, very little money to invest in seeds, let alone your product. A lot of farmers are quite kind of uneducated and quite superstitious. So if you have something that is experimental that could potentially damage their land, there could be a lot of reluctance there to try it. And the other thing is, obviously you can't predict droughts. So if I were a farmer and spent a lot of money on your product, and then there was no drought this season, that lowers my profitability. And I would feel like all my neighbors would think, oh, that guy wasted a load of money. So I definitely think you should, do the science, get the pilot, but I think you're going to have an uphill to sell this, down the line to farmers. So to keep that in mind.
Definitely.
Before we wrap up, thank you for that, Peter. Before we wrap up, since this will be a submission to the Earth Prize, one thing that I think all of the Earth Prize finalists here today have in common is that they talked to stakeholders ahead of their submission. So just as Peter said, I highly recommend that you talk to farmers, you get exact costing on what that experimentation would cost, and talk to some farmers to see if you can get some early adopters, get an idea of what they would be willing to spend, if they would be willing to experiment on part of their land. I think that would very much help your submission.
Sorry, I know we're over time, but also talk to seed manufacturers because they will be encouraged to make sure that farmers can buy the seed to all the points that Peter made. So they can be a bit scary sometimes, but the buyers of the world could be a stakeholder to consult in the process.
That's a great point.
Very, very great point. And next up we have Amara and Preserve Our Roots. Amara, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. So my name is Amara Chivinelli, and I'm here to present my solution called the Green Sustainability Hub. But first, I want all of you guys to maybe close your eyes or just go into your minds real quick and just dream with me. Imagine that you're in this space with stars. And then imagine you're another kid from Lagos, where I'm from, who thought that picture before was from another planet and could not be on planet Earth. This is the reality for 28 million Lagosians who live in a city built for 2 million that prioritize profit over people and has continued to urban sprawl and urbanize, still forgets the importance of greenery in those areas. That leads to a lot of different problems with health, with climate apathy, with lack of climate education, and so much more. But while the solution seems to be growing more out of reach, what if I told you that the solution was right where we started, with greenery, with nature? That is what the Green Sustainability Hub promises to do. We are transforming an identified underutilized space into a life-performing public park that is built entirely from recycled materials. This ensures that there is climate education, community prosperity, and biodiversity. And this is something that is not really provided a lot by the public spaces, public governments, and other NGOs because of the lack of profit model that is normally known to have. But we cannot do it without your help. So how exactly have we done this in the past? We first of all have identified a degraded, underutilized community space, gone into that community seeking out the elders and the community leaders, and established a relationship with the local communities, then hosting an educational program as well as a design charrette where we discuss with them what they would want to see in their community, how they will benefit from it, and what they would want to prioritize. In this, we then collect our network of eco artists and different people, finding out and use fundraising to be able to fund these eco artists to then build this in this space once we get legalized authority to build there, which we have done for our first 3 sites. Now, I know you're thinking, how is green different from anything that can be created by the public? And even though the government might not do, why don't you maybe advocate for that instead? Well, we know that we are locally connected with what is on ground. We are there with the people and it's multi-generational. We identify waste in these areas and use them, upcycle them, and in the process of building this, ensure that they are taught about the importance of recycling, climate education, and the importance of these spaces. And so this multi-sectored approach allows us to go to different communities that might not be seen as viable to have these spaces, connect with them, teach with them, and build with them, and to ensure that they also in the long run protect these spaces. And a lot of times it then creates a lot of just when these children grow up in the future, they'll be able to know and how the importance of this and become climate ambassadors for the spaces in general. Now, we have had success in the past with our first 2 sites being successfully built and launched, one in Lagos, Makoko City, and in one in an off-the-shore island called Ijebu. And we also have partnerships and been recognized through different organizations. Sorry, moving. But how exactly do we sustain our own existence with each park that we built? Well, there's a profit model that is found with this waste collection corners, as well as those sites being hosted for paints and sips and different events. First of all, with the plastic collection, and we create an isolated part of the park for waste collection for the community. And with that, we are able to make 1,500 million for our first month in our first site, which translates to $1,055, removing any cost for wages, collectors, ambassador stipends, and funded training. We have $450 to use for the expansion of other parks or policy advocacy and so much more. So what we are seeking is mentorship with our policy and advocacy work and to provide equal learning opportunities and just to bring these to more people. Thank you so much and join us on our journey.
Okay, that was amazing. That's all good, Amara. I said that you were a powerful community catalyst in the beginning, and you never disappointed. If I lived in Lagos, I would be helping out to build this with you. That's beautiful. All right, we can open the floor for the sharks. Please go ahead.
Mara, I'm going to tell you something that someone told me when I first started out. You have a lot of incredible things to say, but just breathe at the beginning because you went quite fast. And I know, and I know you have a lot of incredible things to say, but you don't want the speed of your cadence to take away from the message that you're giving. So I'm really sorry, like to give the feedback, but it's someone told it to me very early on, and I was very grateful for it. So please take it with the best of intentions. I love this. I'm a big fan of coming up with great ways to use underutilized spaces. And I'm very happy to hear that you have a model for, let's say, revenue sustainability, because I think a lot of times these wonderful green initiatives come up, but there's an initial spark, an initial catalyst, a few people get behind it, but then a few years later you go back and it's not there or it's abandoned. So I would really encourage you to think about more revenue streams and ways that you can ensure your growth and sustainability here. You mentioned at the beginning that there are a lot of players out there that value profit over people or profit over a society, but some of those people could be interested in actually turning a page and being helpful. So look into kind of the corporate partnership model as well. You have very big industries in Lagos that could be interested in supporting you there. So some kind of partnership structure could be helpful for the future. So is that something you've been looking into as well?
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. That is something that we have been trying to work on, and it's definitely on our piece of policy advocacy. I think with our first two sites, we've been able to have more leverage in showing that it works and that there is community, but like they benefit from these spaces. And so right now, what we've been working on is more government focused because we do know that we need those approvals for building. But we'll definitely start looking more into seeing how we can have corporate support as well. But we've been working on the public-private partnership for a minute now, but
It's super, and you're really on the on the money in terms of making sure you are sustainable without any external help. That is the way you keep this going for future generations. So hone in on those revenue streams as well. I'm talking more about the nice to haves, the things that could make you take a park from your vision at 80% and maybe, or let's say your vision at 100% and take it to 120. But don't be a tech startup that has no revenue coming in and is just selling a story. You're doing it right by focusing on revenue generation sustainably first. So well done.
thank you.
Well, how would you see success down the line, Amara? Like, if Lagos has 28 million people, I can see scope for a lot of parks. What do you see as success for this initiative?
Thank you for the question. I think personally, success for this initiative is actually scaling to more cities. Noticing that Lagos is very well invested in from the international space, but also recognizing that there are a lot of different cities that don't really have this infrastructure even in place, and aren't able to really connect. So we are working with actually the eastern region of Nigeria now in Enugu. So our third site is in Iwaku. And so it's really just scale, and it's also really just that policy advocacy piece of working to ensure that it becomes a part of the urban development plan when people and governments come into, and then they maybe consult Preserve Our Roots, which is the organization that this is under, the NGO, to how to build it and connecting with the local people. And hopefully in the next 5-10 years, it's something that is part of our country's agenda, and then moving on to maybe Ghana and scaling on that front.
Okay, thanks.
So Amara, thank you for the presentation. It was very, as you know, the earlier presentations, it was very positive, and you're doing something which is very beneficial. You can see the benefits of it immediately. I just wanted to pick up on, continue on something that Louise kind of raised. So I think what is really useful when you're looking at partners is, you probably want different things from different partners. One of your key assets is going to be space. Getting the right space in the right location so that it serves the community for the maximum benefit. You have to think how you get that space and who you get it from. So, you might want to use different partners for different things. You might have the municipality or the government, because they will be able to provide you with the space, but you might need corporate partners, or you might need the community for different reasons. So, there's something very important to think about who you use what for. And you target those organizations or those people for a specific purpose.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yep, and I'd just like to add, just as Sally said, it also invites more of those partnerships, because if you say this is our ecosystem, this is what others are providing us with, and this is how you can plug in, that gives them multiple options to collaborate. It's very valuable stuff. Thank you so much, Sally.
Thank you.
And okay, thank you once again, Amara. Once again, thank you for fighting the time zone. I hope you two are ready. All right.
Hi, my name is Natalie.
And I'm Anthony, and we're Entropy. Last year, data centers used up enough energy to power California for 2 years. However, 100% of that energy turns into heat and dissipates into the atmosphere, Meanwhile, half of the world's energy demand is for heat. We need it in our homes, agriculture, and almost all of our manufacturing processes. My question is, how do we simultaneously have an excess of heat and not enough heat? The answer is there's a staggering mismatch between where heat is generated and where it's needed.
But data centers no longer have to be parasites. They can provide value to their communities by sending their heat to district heating networks. This way, communities get free heating, data centers get free cooling, and everyone cuts their reliance on fossil fuels. Entropy is a platform that controls this heat. We handle everything from feasibility, is it economically viable for us to reuse our heat, to compliance, how can we generate revenue from carbon credits, to dispatching, where is heat produced, where is it needed, and when. The world's most profitable data center heats 20,000 homes in Helsinki. Their heat is no longer a byproduct, but their most lucrative product. They became a heat utility that merely computes AI on the side.
And why now? Starting this month, the Energy Efficiency Directive requires data centers in Germany to reuse their heat in some capacity. With this legislation quickly spreading across the EU, they're desperate for compliance and they're drowning under regulatory pressure. For combined reasons of policy and infrastructure, our target market is Europe. We're actually moving to Vienna next month to continue building entropy.
So Entropy's business model is based on selling software and project services to data center operators and their partners. So we charge 50 to 75K per site per year in US dollars for feasibility, compliance, and regulatory reporting. As projects scale, however, we want to add a 1 to 3% share of heat revenue or carbon credit incentives that are enabled by the platform. As far as TAM, there are 3,500 data centers, 19,000 district heating networks, and 15,000 industrial heat suppliers in Europe. So conservatively, if we only capture half of the market share over the next 10 years, which is already quite ambitious, but still conservative, our TAM is around $900 million. However, with mobile thermal storage and potentially new climate-focused policy in the US, our TAM can exponentiate.
And as far as partnerships, we've signed beta users already. This includes Danfoss, one of the biggest heat pump manufacturers in Europe. We've also partnered with two thermal battery companies, the former being SunAmp, with whom we created an economic model for mobile heat transfer, and the latter being Grid8, with whom we plan to bid on the EU Horizon, a climate innovation fund.
Here's a demo of our feasibility engine so far that shows the cost, savings, and IRR for when you match a specific data center site with a district heating network. We are actually at 75% to launch.
With 2 million in pre-seed funding, we can continue building out our product, sign more pilots and partnerships, and acquire customers fast. Time is of the essence. Being a big part of our advantage not only are we the earliest adopters in a very young market, but we are basically the future for AI markets.
So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I started Entropy while doing machine learning research at Stanford because I was worried about the environmental consequences of training these models. I've also built thermoelectric generators and created neural operators for modeling batteries. So I've been on both sides of compute, supply and demand.
As the Sharks know, I was the North American finalist for the Earth Prize of Curie Board. In addition, I've also been a finalist alongside Haley for the Oxford Climate Change Challenge. And as part of my work, I've actually funded $15,000 to my high school's sustainability lab. And through my passions in sustainability, it led me to basically here with Entropy leading growth.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Nobody's mad for the extra 35 seconds given the time zone difference, so don't worry about that, please. And yeah, let's open it up for the Sharks.
What's the state of infrastructure for heat capture and then dissemination?
So as for the infrastructure, the reason why we chose Europe is because in Europe, the presence of district heating networks allows for a much more centralized infrastructure that we can adapt to entropy and also utilizing the heat from data centers. In most of the United States, although this is a massive market, not only is it the land is much bigger and data centers are situated much further away from major city centers, most homes and most homes actually manage their heat independently with boiler rooms, which is much more common here in the US than in Europe.
Yeah, so basically how it's transferred through hot water. The medium is hot water. Um, a lot of liquid cooled data centers, they use liquid cooling loops, and from there they use a heat exchanger and then pipes underground to a district connecting to a district heating network. But our proof of concept right now that we're partnering with thermal battery companies to prove out is that heat storage doesn't have to be infrastructure. It can actually be held in equipment such as thermal batteries and then transferred mobily.
Okay. And my second question you said that you're concentrating on Europe in terms of, compared to the US, how far are we in Europe in terms of data center development? Because, the impression is that, a lot of the data centers are in the US.
Right. So a lot of data centers are in the US, but the reason why growth is slower in the EU is because, or in Europe in general, is because a lot of data centers are struggling to get permits because there's a score called PUE, power usage efficiency, which is, or effectiveness, that is, when it's higher, it means that your data center is less efficient, it's parasitic, it's drawing up local resources and raising energy prices, water prices, and just being loud and all of these things. But if we were, because we're looking at Europe for policy and infrastructure and economics, it just is a better place to pilot. And I believe that the US is a very possible, and it's our next step once we prove out the use of thermal batteries in heat reuse.
So are you saying from a policy perspective, it's easier to center yourself in Europe compared to US?
Yes, so there's,
Oh, sorry. I was
you
going to
can go
add on
ahead. Sorry, I'm talking a lot.
Okay. So adding on to what Natalie has already said, as I mentioned earlier, the energy efficiency directive in Germany is actually, and also basically EU compliance pressure all across the board is actually another one of the big reasons why we think focusing in Europe is in a better situation at the current moment.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Maybe one question from my side. Are you already working with data centers? Are those one of the partners that you're working with?
So I'm working with Dan Foss, who is the integrator. Our basically they create the infrastructure, the physical pipes that connect points A to B. They are the ones that actually are connecting us to data centers by proxy. So we're working on piloting in Europe within the next 6 months to be eligible for the EU Horizon grant.
And why not directly speak with the data centers? Like, what's the...
So basically, how data center heat reuse works in at this moment, it's very fragmented and it's a very young industry. It's incredibly naive and there's no standard. So the closest thing they have to a standard is Danfoss. So we initially wanted to build out the hardware, but because there's industry incumbents that already captured market share, what we did instead was we went to them and we asked them, what are your biggest pain points? And they said it was, in their own words, making the farmer and the cow friends or connecting supply with demand. So because of this, information, we're building out our platform and building out the features that are creating the standard. So once we have this, we plan to, or we're already partnered with Open Compute Project and Danfoss to be connected to data centers because right now they have no real reason to adopt a software that enables heat reuse if they aren't actively being pushed to adopt heat reuse, either by policy or by economics.
Okay, then in that case, my advice would be if you want to be also connected, probably we could help, NVIDIA could help there as well. So I would highly recommend directly going to the data center builders rather than third parties. and just trying it out at least. The second question was also about competition, because I receive not if daily, at least weekly, one startup that's coming up with the heat reuse from data centers. So I would maybe also ask you both, because I also didn't see that slide on your pitch deck where you are doing extensive competitive analysis. So would recommend that.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that because what we're focusing on is specifically the compliance, feasibility, and regulatory reporting. So this is not only enterprise facing, it's government facing. So for regulators that are looking through all of these different projects, making sure that they're compliant, and instead of looking at bespoke like Google Docs or like spreadsheets, they have a very auditable and trackable way of seeing what is compliant and what is not. So of course, I'd love to hear more about
Finish your
competition.
thought. Finish your thought.
Right. Yeah, so my idea is that we basically are on the benefiting end of information asymmetry because we have such a close partnership with both Open Compute Project and Danfoss, already big, I guess, incumbents in the industry. And they've been providing us, we've been exchanging algorithms back and forth between OCP. And it's been we have an advisor, Drew, who is the director of global decarbonization solutions at Danfoss. So that's been I guess we have a little more information than the rest of the market, which is so naive at this point.
Does that respond to what you raised, Nehal? It's a very valid point. In any pitch deck, it's great to mention the competition because even
and
if
I
they're
would
fragmented, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would actually maybe call it's not as naive because we're receiving a lot of these solutions already. So they all land up on either NVIDIA or my previous employer, so Intel Store, because we do have to care about that a lot, especially the chip makers already. So I would look into those competition startups as well. And these are big corporations, not just the small ones that are just starting out.
Thank you so much, everyone. Mindful of time, Tariq, how are you doing?
Perfect. Hello, everyone. So I'm introducing Let's Conserve, a digital tool and guide that helps everyday people take action to conserve our natural treasures. So the problem. The triple planetary crisis is arguably the biggest problem of our time, and action has been very slow to tackle it. And why is that? Many people either don't know that the problem exists or they don't have the tools or resources to actually take action, and which is why Let's Conserve is here to solve the problem. So over the years, I've been taking individual action to tackle the triple planetary crisis and issues surrounding it in my local community. And I felt the most impactful when I started taking collective action. History shows that change happens when people act together. While individual action matters, collective action multiplies impact, and the community that comes out of like collective action sustains momentum. So Let's Conserve, my solution is a robust, people-centered platform designed for anyone who wants to engage in collective action to conserve our only home. So there are three major priorities for Let's Conserve, which is to help everyday people learn, to connect, and to take action. The learn aspect is to boost environmental literacy. Time after time, we've seen that due to a lack of understanding of environmental issues, it is very difficult for people to act. People cannot take action to tackle a problem they do not understand. And the connect aspect is due to the fact that we need community around environmental issues and we need more people coming together to take action. Oftentimes, efforts to tackle the triple planetary crisis are quite fragmented, and Let's Conserve is trying to solve this problem by creating a centralized hub where people with interest to tackle environmental issues can come together. And lastly, it is to take action. Oftentimes, we are too centered around raising awareness about these issues that we forget that we actually need to take action. So Let's Conserve is all take action, let's talk. Key features, a community hub where people can share actions, progress, and ideas, a news and update section where you can get positive updates about the environment, innovation, and also just like reduce eco anxiety because we think it is important for people to remain optimistic if we actually want to solve a large scale problem like the triple planetary crisis. Then another feature will be games and trivia. Nobody wants to be on a boring platform. So we're going to have fun and engaging climate, games and, efforts to educate people about the environment and the natural world in a very fun and gamified way. Then we would also have a directory. Oftentimes, like so much is going on in the world to tackle these problems, but they're quite, all over the place. So there's going to be a single directory where people can see local initiative movements, NGOs, and other things that are just going on that they can get involved with. And lastly, an AI assistant that, explains simple, explain complex concepts related to the environment and the natural world simply. So why now? Time is ticking, climate progress is too slow, and youth are actively looking for ways to engage. And also collective action is more likely to be impactful than individual action alone. So my original idea was actually to help users take individual action to tackle the triple planetary crisis, and I was commended by the United Nations and I won a competition. I was also a finalist in the Earth Prize and a finalist in the National Geographic Slingshot Challenge. So Let's Conserve is unique because it has a very high potential of scaling. First things first, it's an app. Anybody can get the app on their phone. Anyone with a device and an internet connection can just download Let's Conserve. And it has like so many features, sticky features that keeps people coming back. And we're able to have long-term partnerships with schools, NGOs, CSR programs, major foundations. Some of our competitors or similar tools are Health Hero, Global Citizen, Jewbug, iNaturalist, and so much more.
30 more seconds, Tariq. Come on.
Oh, okay. So Let's Conserve differentiates itself by combining gamification, community, and actionable opportunities in one platform. We're basically the platform where people go to when they actually want to act and understand the triple planetary crisis. So what do we need? We need funding, we need mentorship, and we also need technical support. And Let's Conserve hopes to be the platform that actually drives mass action to tackle the biggest problem of our time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tariq. Let's open it up for the sharks.
So I think concept-wise, obviously, you've won a lot of prizes. People are talking about what you're doing, but there have been solutions like this in the past. And one thing that I have noticed, because they're always something that I get excited about, and I'm so glad when someone really puts their heart and soul behind them, is that they struggle to take off in a scalable way. And oftentimes, it's just my perspective here, but people sometimes struggle with global issues and they're very focused on like how it impacts them locally. So I think the global roof of your business is wonderful, but how do you plan to tackle the locality and people's needs there to get them coming back? Because gamification, and also would love to ask you about the gamification piece, who you're working with, what you need there, because I have some thoughts potentially, although NVIDIA is probably far more helpful from that perspective. But yeah, so two things. One is, how are you going to make this very global outreach sticky at a local level? And then also, what is your gamification plan and what do you need there?
Yeah, so Let's Conserve is actually a digital tool as part of a larger movement. Like, I think I wanted Let's Conserve to be sort of like a movement for everyday people to get involved in environmental action. Because I think oftentimes when people hear about like climate change, biodiversity loss, I think these are like big issues that you need like, years of like environmental science, an environmental science degree to understand. And my goal with Let's Conserve is like the everyday person can just like get on the app and say like, oh, what is going on? What can I get involved with? How do I understand these issues? And we're going to make it as simple as possible. We're going to use lots of like simple language, lots of memes, lots of jokes. And I think like nobody wants to be on an app where it's basically like they're preaching to you. Like people want to be on an app that is actually fun and interesting. And one of the ways we're going to do that, I understand like human psychology, we can be very competitive. And the challenge is basically to motivate people to, come back all the time. Because like, my friend is constantly on Let's Conserve and they're playing like trivia games about like nature or like, you know, the ocean. And they have like high points, so I have to beat their points. And we can have like, you know, rewards, like, you know, we can collaborate with like brands where people who get like really high points can get like gifts sent to them. And I think like we mostly rely on social proof. Like when people see people winning stuff from the app, they can say like, oh yeah, you know, I participated on a you know, on this game on this app called Let's Conserve, and I'm not only helping the planet, but I'm also, you know, getting something out of it, because like people also love things that there's a mutual value. Like, you know, they do something and they also benefit you know, from whatever they're doing. And I think gamification is very important for us because we realize that people's attention spans are very low now, especially in the age of like algorithmic social media. And you need something that's just like really sticky that keeps them coming back. You know, I'm thinking of like dares where people are dared to, you know, maybe like weekly dares where everybody that uses Let's Conserve are just like dared to do like a good act that actually benefits the environment, or, you know, encouraging them to participate in an action that's happening locally. And as for like the local aspect, I think that's the most difficult part, because like not every user is going to be English speaking. Not every user is going to be in an environment where it's easy for them to take action. I'm very aware of that. Even this solution would be very kind of unconventional in my, you know, city, because I'm from Lagos and climate education is very low here. So, you know, I'm still trying to decide on how we can localize the platform. But in the early stage, I think the people who are going to attract the most are socially and environmentally conscious young people, mostly.
I have many follow-ups, but there's only 2 minutes left, so I will follow up with you.
Tariq, I want to jump in here. I'm going to give you some advice. Don't build an app. You don't need an app for this. I think do it that you can launch it tomorrow. So think about like just a WhatsApp channel. Have a Let's Conserve WhatsApp channel. You can start that today. You can share it for free with your, you know, your classmates, with your community, and you can proof of concept. Because what I built an app, and trust me, it was a horrible experience. It's a nightmare. And what I'd love to see is a small community where some of the things that you've just outlined actually happen. And you can do that on WhatsApp or another free platform. And if you're right, it will spread organically. And you don't need a penny to do that. And you can take your passion and put it into you know, practice straight away. So that would be my advice, but maybe somebody else has different advice.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McGarry. I actually tried WhatsApp for a different movement, but the only reason is that it can be very difficult to manage. Like I also tried Discord. So I just thought like it might be better to just like create my platform. And I know like, you know, managing a global community on a single platform can be very difficult. I'm very realistic about that. But you know, it's just like I think of it as like, you know, we're going to release like very small, like we're going to start with like very few features, and over time we see like what features, you know, our users like and what features they don't engage with at all.
But whether you do an app or not, Tariq, I think it's really important. Sorry, I said I wouldn't say anything, but I have to. It's really important to concentrate. Don't go global before you can do the validation in a local community, because otherwise you're going to be like the duck on the water where the feet are moving, but you look calm because you've got this big mission. But if you put all this effort into this big mission, but you can't make impact on the local level, which is why I was bringing it up, floating won't help you, essentially. That was a really bad analogy, but you know what I mean.
And to wrap up, Tariq, if only you had the possibility to ask the advice of, you know, a community admin with years of experience, Tariq, come on, man. We're here for you. Like, if you want to get check ideas of best ways to mobilize it, because Lagos is the size of many countries. So if you have the ear of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of youth interested in mobilizing for environmental impact, that's already amazing. And we know you've built that kind of movement at a small scale, and you can to need infrastructure. You don't necessarily need an app. You need to structure it in a certain way. So happy to have that conversation. But I think we're at time, and we are at time for the entire event. So if everyone is okay with spending 5 extra minutes, I would love to hear from the Sharks what patterns they've seen overall throughout the various presentations, and what kind of advice they can offer across teams that would be helpful for all of the young change makers who are here today.
So We've had a really small snapshot of all the work that you've put into your project. And the one thing that I would say is that it's really worth spending some time up front trying to identify who the right partners are for you, because that will stop you spending a lot of time going around, kind of a big circle and then coming to the right point. So, some time spent up front really makes a big, big difference further down the road. So I'll just give you one example. So in terms of Stuti's project, in India, a very large percentage of the population is still involved in farming. And a lot of farming is unionized. So, the Farmers Union is actually a really good place to go to try and get feedback on your project. As Peter said, there will be a lot of barriers to people taking up the product. Some of it is suspicion, some of it is financial. There will be lots of different things, even within one state. But I think, if you can reach out to the right partner who can give you a synopsis of what is actually happening in irrigation, water, the water table in India is a really big problem. So, to get a grip on the whole picture, and then to put your product in front of somebody who is the right partner can really make a big difference in accelerating your success and your progress. So that's the one kind of, that's an example, but I think that applies across the board to all projects.
That was beautiful, Sally. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to hear from each of the sharks individually. So, Louise, would you be okay going next?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm so in awe of all of you. I think what you have, I'm just like, I wouldn't get into college today based off what I've seen you guys present today. So it is so impressive. Congratulations for all your hard work. Two things I would say. One, it's always product first. A lot of people won't care about the mission that you care about, but that doesn't mean you can't convince them to go after your product. So, there, especially in today's climate, in the administration that we are seeing, people might start to care about some of these missions less and less, but that does not mean they're any less worthwhile. In fact, they are more worthwhile. So you need to always be able to work out what is your hook, what is the commercial aspect of this to make sure that your reason for being is undeniable, despite anybody's personal political feelings about climate or government or whatever. So try and always look at it through the business lens, because if you make a good business case, it's undeniable. And the second thing I would say is we've got some single founder teams here, or single founders here, and we've got some teams. To the single founders, find the yin to your yang. That doesn't mean it has to be a co-founder, but it means a group of trusted advisors who are there for you, who will call you out on your, excuse my language, shit, and push you, because we all have stuff. And when we're single founders, I've experienced this, everything you think you thought of is great, and it's not always the case, funnily enough. So find the yin to your yang, build your network of trusted people to call you out and push you. To the co-founders in the room, I will use the word again. When shit hits the fan, that is when you will know how good your partnership is. Everything's great when you're in the prototyping stage and the ideating stage, but the day, Haley and Yume, when the product does not arrive at the restaurant and they've been expecting it for 2 days, and you can't say sorry to them anymore, how you guys handle that will be a testament to what you do in the future, because the problems do not get less the more successful you get. They get more and more complex. So to the co-founders in the room, work out what are your roles and responsibilities, be clear on what your relationship is, talk about what you do scenario planning for when shit hits the fan. You can't predict everything, but you can predict how you work together when that happens. That's it. But congratulations, great work.
Powerful stuff, Louise. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Snehal, would you like to offer some insight?
Yes, I'm super, super, super proud, by the way, everyone. You guys, great work. I would just have like I hope I didn't come too strong, but if you need any help, really, really happy to help you all. I can also share my email address if anybody wants to reach out later and need more advice. Um, the what you're building is actually what the world needs. So great job on that as well. And Peter, George, and the team, you all are doing great work. So thanks for having us here. Individually to the teams, I would say is that seen a lot of you also trying to incorporate AI in most of your products. So if you need any help there, I'd be happy to also help you all there. One thing I would like you to maybe concentrate on is also scale. So when you're adding bits and pieces, it's okay if your user base is smaller, but as you scale, you'll also have to see where the finances are acting and where your the money is coming from as well. So also keep an eye on that, Tariq especially. Anthony and Natalia, I'll also speak with you guys later, but also keep an eye on the competition landscape. Or these could be your customers as well if you build a better product. So that's also something that I would tell you. But I'm just so amazed by what you're doing already. So I would just say all the best, and I hope to see you all somewhere later in some great, I don't know, maybe at Slush where you're raising rounds, or at Web Summit, or somewhere else where you're already pitching to investors, and I'd be there as a proud sponsor as well. So yeah.
That is beautiful, Snehal. I hope nobody's feeling that I'm overstepping boundaries or anything, but I would very much love to hear what Peter and Shalina would have to say. Shalina has committed to doing one-to-ones with most of these teams and has been of great help, has seen and delivered, I think, the largest number of pitches from any of us. So would love to hear from them too.
So my advice, first of all, well done to everyone. I thought it was fantastic. My one piece of advice is if you're building something, always talk to the end user or the customer. And that could be a farmer, it could be a data center, but don't build something without having really spoken to the end user, because generally, they're not as stupid as sometimes we may think they are. And in fact, it could help you and inspire you and save you a lot of time. So that's my simple advice, but well done to everyone. Shalene, over to you.
Yeah, George, as you said, I had the privilege of getting a sneak preview of all of this earlier in the week. And I think, look, guys, all of you have done an amazing job. You've taken on feedback really well, without any ego. You've adjusted your presentations. You've striven to be even better. So I'm so amazed by all of you and really inspired. I think, George, when you gave my intro, I'd like to correct you a little bit. So I was the founder and CEO of Soratoria, but it failed. It was a startup that Peter invested in. I lost his money. Sorry, Peter. But look, these ideas might not be your only idea, right? You might work on this and it might not work out. But I think the fact that you're already coming up with these innovations, you're already being entrepreneurs is just incredible. So if this doesn't work, it's not the end of your journey. You have to keep going. Louise, I know Louise and I have been friends for a long time, and I know Louise had many iterations of her entrepreneurial journey. And I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, is that we all fail and you keep going again and again and again. And I think the fact that you guys have shown the tenacity already, you're already here and showing up at the Earth Prize, is testament to your resilience and your courage. So well done.
I can't think. First of all, apologies for that mistake, Shalina. But made for great material to end on. I'm not gonna lie. I just want to thank each and every one of you for making this such a beautiful event, and for those who had to drop off early, they can watch this recording. I'm gonna watch it again because it was absolutely a joy to be here with all of you. Thank you so much. I hope that this has helped create some new connections, sparked some valuable insight, and hope to see many of you, if not all of you, in a future iteration of this program.
Okay, well done, everyone. And well done, Magda and George. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Our
Thank you.
Okay,
pleasure.
have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thank you for
Have a nice
having
day.
us. Bye.